Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, I want to extend my gratitude to our guests because I know they're coming with several things that are very expensive. First, their time. It is a precious commodity, and I wanted to thank this wonderful guest for his time to come and be able to come and spend with us. And the other is his journey, and that is precious stuff. It is housed with joy, pain, suffering, and beauty. And I want to thank him for coming and sharing with us. Michael, welcome to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you, Ken. A pleasure to be here. And yeah, you wanted to start with me who I am. I was
Yeah,
born in
introduce
Vienna.
yourself, tell them your name and all that stuff.
I was born in Austria, Vienna, and I was a sick child. I was dyslexic. I'm still dyslexic, stuttering, and I have come to write 5 books about art. I have my own podcast, which is not a podcast. It's just a 30-second wisdom quote and question twice a week. It's called Smart of Art. And I was in because I couldn't fit in because I was sick and I was dyslexic. I was stuttering. I didn't comprehend things, understand it. I had tutors. I wasn't a rebel or anything. I was just, I had tutors. I'm a personality, but I couldn't understand what they taught. So I had to repeat 2 classes, and you know how that is when you are like 14, 15. It's shame central, that you are not, because we are herd animal, right? So you attracted to the herd by instinct. And I mean, that's why media has such an easy way with us. It just we all try to somehow belong. And it was very hard. And it was very hard. I wasn't aware of it. I mean, I knew it's hard, obviously, because your skin is all open and everything. And you have asthma. You know. But what's the great thing is, it took me till 35 to find out that I actually was an artist. I wasn't even aware of it because, again, the system didn't say you were an artist. Because I didn't fit in. So the system is. The system of art is the art business, which is the product that you create. It's basically like every other business. It doesn't matter if you sell bicycles or art or whatever, cars. It doesn't matter, So, I mean, there's a lot of art, cars that are art, So what we consider as humans as art is the art business. It's what a system says this is art. And I wasn't aware of that. 35 years, and I did my resume, and I couldn't. And I looked at it, and I said, "Oh my God! Since 6 years old, everything I do is art." I started in the woods with creating stuff in the woods, like huts, and painting them, and then became a DJ, and then created fashion shows, and then I went to television, advertising television, and then. I wrote a painting, then music. And even arts commissioner, a city arts commissioner. So, and all without education because I couldn't comprehend. So everything I did is completely and I now see this is one of my strengths. That's why I'm interesting, because I've never played in the tribe. Obviously, with the tribes, I've played with some people. And the artist community, which I still think artist communities around the world, even though it gets a little bit, with our times, is not as strong anymore, because the mentoring is a part of humans too, that we mentor each other and then we learn from each other and we discover our wisdom, not knowledge. Knowledge is very short time. And I think that art is a human superpower. When you look at it today, how is it a superpower? Because we're inherently born with it, creativity.
Yes.
But it is funny that 95% or 97% of artists worldwide live on the poverty. So this never made sense. And then it was too much 3 or 4 years ago when I wrote my last The Smart of Art. I found out it's not acceptable, because this world, what saved me and brought me together with humans was the arts, the art creation. And I couldn't believe that, even though that saved me, I experienced how powerful art is. Me as a human, even though I don't fit in the system, how can it be that 95% and 97% of artists worldwide are poor, are just on the poverty line? They just survive. And I found out that it was a couple of reasons. The one reason was we never defined ourselves. As you
Hmm.
remember, there were cave paintings, and then we
Hmm.
came into Baroque, or the Middle Ages, where you diddled around. So it's in us. You had a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
ukulele or something, and
yeah.
then you went, and then it went to a duke, a king,
Hmm.
getting you into his. You can live there. That's the
Yeah.
patronage, right? And you can live there. And he says, "Come on, live with your family in my thing. The kitchen gives you something to
Hmm.
eat, and you make music for me at night, or you paint me on a horse or whatever."
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Uh, so we have never, and over generations, religions, always systems had to define us. So
Yeah,
when you go to a plumber and says, or an electrician and say, "Why do I pay $5,000?"
yeah, yeah,
They say, "Oh, I give you a wash basin, and there's tubing to be done, and a toilet fixed or whatever." When you ask an artist, why should I pay you $5,000 for this painting? He
yeah,
says, "Oh, I was so many people like my paintings. That's my price." It's not and no explanation. So we have never
yeah.
the value of art. We have
Hmm.
never defined. And I
Define it.
started define the value without outside of the business, because
Yeah.
the value in art is in the creation. And
Yes.
with that, every human can connect. Like you said, art is
Hmm.
everywhere, and everything
Yes.
we look, even though it's defined, okay, you make me high rising, but it's still art, it's still creation.
Yes.
And so I started to define what are in little pieces of wisdom that come to me constantly,
Hmm.
and write them down and publish them on my podcast or in my
Yeah.
book. And
Yeah.
first the book decided to found out, okay, why are we? And we are not, because we
Yeah.
are we are not defined, and we are not getting paid, because, or not paid enough, because we have never defined our.
Yeah.
And then
That is
I'm
something.
now defining. What I'm doing is
Yes.
now I'm defining so that people can get those seeds of wisdom,
Hmm.
and applying them, and get an understanding why art is important for
Yeah.
humanity. And because I ask people that pay $1 million for a wing donated, for a wing of a museum or so, and
Hmm.
honestly, always not satisfactory, the answer. Oh, art is
Yeah.
good. Art
Yeah.
is good for all of us. Yes, it is,
Yeah.
but it is a superpower that we have inherently. And when I
Yes.
hear a business person talk and say, "Oh, I'm not an artist, I'm a businessman," I said, "You wouldn't
Hmm.
be a businessman if you weren't an artist,
Yeah.
because not everybody is a businessman, a
Yes.
successful one."
Yes. Hmm.
And that actually got me where I am today. I'm
Could
still
it
not
be?
rich, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm rich in spirit. I've never felt better in my life, because I
Yeah.
understand through art where I am.
Yeah. Could it be that they never, as you said, never defined it? Because I have used on my podcast and my conversation with people, because that's how I look at it. I see a creation in everything that we do. My life is an artwork, is a continual progressive piece that I am working on as an individual. And I think all of us are artists because, and I've said this before to people on my podcast, that as an artist, and I am using blue or red, whatever color, certain way, and the process of deciding what color I'm using and all of those different things. That should be the conversation that we would have: is why did you choose that, and have that interlocking conversation with each other, so we can become a better artist. As you say, wisdom that we gain from my conversation with you and so forth. I had a friend of mine that she was an excellent artist, and I was visiting her, and she was putting her stuff together for a show, and she had giant painting for $200 and stuff like that, and I'm like, what in the world are you doing? So I sat her down and I said, can you explain to me how much time you put into this specific? I pulled up a specific piece. How much time did you put into this? And she stood there and she began to talk about it. I said, how much did your canvas? And so I started breaking it down from that, because I understand that an artist really don't look at those aspects of when they're
Mhm.
putting their piece together. But I wanted to do it to bring it to her the forefront of her thought, that no, it's much more than that. Your supplies and the time that you put in and all of these different things is a part of the pricing that you put in. And even beyond that, what did you pour into that piece of,
Mm-hmm.
project that you put together? And so I told her, I said, can you do me a favor? She said, sure. I said, can I price it? And she said, reluctantly a little, because you know how artists are, you know. So I said, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to just focus on the painting, leave the business aspect of it to Alain. And so I put
Mm-hmm.
those prices of their 10, 15,000, 20,000, and we put it
Mm-hmm.
on her. And she did her art show. And I told her, I said, do not look at the prices and anything until we get to the studio. When we got there, she almost had a heart attack. But did you know people were buying all of her stuff? And I
Yeah.
told her, I said, look at the amount of, look what you would have done to yourself had, but I said, it's just the fact that you are not looking at the value that you are
Mm-hmm.
putting forward. And once you see that, it changes space and how you see her work. Go ahead,
But
go
how
ahead.
can she see the value? How can she see the? I mean, when you never define, but you know, for example,
Yes,
you
you're
work, you
absolutely
do the
right.
you do the minimal labor. You
Yes.
know, everybody knows a minimal labor costs that much money, like five,
Mm-hmm.
six, seven, $8 an hour.
Yeah.
You can define that's defined by the system. The system defines it.
Yeah.
The system has never defined it because artists have never defined
Yes.
it. And if artists are aware, if she sees what you see it as a product,
Mm-hmm.
then but she has the magic of creation. She
Yes. That's
loves the
that's her gift.
magic of creation.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, when you're bringing the non-physical into the physical, and the art
Mm-hmm.
project is the physical manifestation of that process, and
Yes.
that's when you as a viewer, as a viewer, look at an art, it can totally transform you because
Yes.
you see that interconnection in the physical vibration, and that resonates with you, and it touches
Yes.
you deeply because we're all interconnected, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the holy thing of art. So you can't really uh, you know, blame the artists, but artists have to become aware, and they
Yes.
have to be they have to be educating what I
Yes.
do. You know, you educate
Yes.
why art is important. You don't say it's good for the humans. We all
Yeah.
know it's good for you. That's not enough. Water is good for
Yeah.
humans, and we pollute that. You know, I mean, it's just we
Yeah.
do crazy things. So
You're,
so I
you're
think
absolutely
that
right.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing. The awareness, also the stigma. You know, when artists feel poor, and you say the starving artist, right? That's a stigma
Mm-hmm.
worldwide over
Yeah.
generations.
Yeah.
It's we attract each other. All the artists, look at this stuff. What's happening now? Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, they all sell their catalog. Who would have
Mm-hmm.
thought? Because COVID, 2 years,
Yeah.
it's I think I worked with Robert Evans, and he had to was bailed out by Jack Nicholson. So
Mm-hmm.
its poverty is built in, and they weren't lavishly or whatever lived lavishly,
Yeah.
or anything, but they, I would never think that Bob Dylan has to sell his catalog, or Justin
Yeah.
Timberlake. They sold
Yeah.
their complete catalog to a system. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't give it to their family or anything. So, but they because, and it happened all after the COVID, after,
Yeah.
because where they couldn't tour, they couldn't have
Mm-hmm.
that money flow.
Money. Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that?
It's
And
it's
and that's, and we are ruled by money. That's a sad thing, that
yeah.
we are so ruled by it. So,
Well, I'm glad you're out there putting that information out as to make the artists aware of their value, and that's an
mhm,
important piece because that is missing in your arena
mhm,
in the sense of that. So that is powerful that it's available. I want you to go back because when you were telling us your story, when because of your situation, you had to go over do over class and shame entered into your belief system as a result. How did you
mhm,
overcome that? Because that is a powerful force. How did you utilize shame in your
mhm,
life, and how did you use it to? Usually, sometimes we use it to manage our space, and then as we get older, we find out that it's killing us. How did you
mhm.
manage your life through that and dealing with that? Because that is a powerful emotion to be dealing with.
I think, shame is an emotion that says there's something inherently wrong with
Yeah.
Humpty Dumpty is broken and can't be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That is a core, that meaning your essence, your spirit is perfect. It's just our
Yeah.
physical form is, but
Yes.
your
Yes.
spirit is first. But when you counter the perfection of who you are as part of the whole
Mm-hmm.
to your default, then you create a powerful energy that is counteractive,
Yes.
and you need, so you mean you're out of balance, and you're out
Mm-hmm.
of time and space.
Yes.
What art does, and so I didn't know that then. I can explain it now.
Yeah.
I grew up in a time where with Stevie Wonder, with soul music, a lot of soul music.
Yeah.
And when I listened to Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Temptations, when I looked at pop art, Picasso,
Mm-hmm.
I've there was definitely another feeling than when I interact with you, for example. There was
Yeah.
another feeling
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
and that feeling saved me. That was like a drug, like somebody
Mm-hmm.
else takes drugs.
Yes.
I just lost myself in that,
Yeah.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
I, I because it made me feel I had to lose myself. That shame, Michael.
Yes.
I had to
Somewhere.
I had to lose that shame, Michael, in this, because that made me more humane than
Yeah.
shame, Michael.
Yeah.
And that's why art is such a superpower, because art always drives us, and I can give you an example. It always drives us to humanity.
Yeah.
It always reconnects us to humanity. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
don't understand it, it brings you back. For example, you go to any art opening,
Mm-hmm.
you see every politician there, every age, every
Mm-hmm.
sexuality,
Yeah.
and poor and rich, and
Yep.
they all like each other, and they all can converse and go into our second superpower, which is healthy discourse.
Yes.
So art triggers healthy discourse where people don't talk about their business. They just
Mm-hmm.
be happy to be together. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, they don't even look at the art. It's just the
Yeah.
art is the magic. The art
Yeah.
is the magic. Create a space, and from your knowledge, space is the
Yeah.
most important, because you can't
Mm-hmm.
paint on anything if you don't have a
Yes.
space.
Yes.
So art creates a space where we can be human. So
Mm-hmm.
I was out of space, distorted, whatever,
Yeah.
out of whatever reason, and art gave me the space to be human again. It,
Yeah.
it made me, resonated. That's why I say it's the language of wisdom, and I also say artists are the steward of the being of human,
Yes.
because we are human doing way too much. Art makes you go into your being. I think we are the stewards, and that might be also a reason why people are so poor, why artists are poor, because it's almost like a counter to our human doing, and they have to
Yeah.
learn how to be. I'm not saying that's correct. I think it's a misunderstanding, but I think they don't want to go back in the systems, into that
Yeah.
what makes us a human doing.
Yeah.
So they are forced almost by the energy to stay in their being, even if they don't have money or anything. I think
Yeah.
that's what one reason that feels right to me. Because I first thought, oh, it's the system that doesn't appreciate artists or whatever. They want to just exploit them. And that's not true, because artists themselves, like you said with your friend, cannot define themselves. They have no
Yeah.
they have no clue how powerful their chosen interaction is with that medium of non-physical and physical. They have not seen that.
Yeah.
They just say, okay, I'm painting whatever comes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but you're interacting with that, and you cannot interact if you're not in time space. So
Yes.
there's a lot of artists that are completely distraught, like I was. They're
Mm-hmm.
completely distraught, but when they do art, it's even better. When
Yeah.
you listen to art, that helps, like to help me, or see art. But then the creation took over, and when
Mm-hmm.
you take creation over, that active physical interaction with the non-physical, you
Yeah.
have to be in the moment. You cannot
Yes.
be out. And who else talks about this? Nobody talks
I
about
have
this. Everybody
never
talks about,
I have never
you
heard
know,
anyone talk about it. That's why I'm listening to you so intently. I've
yeah,
never heard. I've been around artists. I've been around
yeah,
them in Manhattan. I've been around them
yeah,
in when we were in Florida, and at all
yeah,
different levels. And I've never heard a conversation like this ever before. That whereby uh, there is this conduit, even the space to create, where humans can be human. All of those things that you're talking about, I've never ever heard about. I've heard about it as just putting something to canvas and
Yeah.
whatever, like in a nonchalant
But
way, but never with the insight that you are laying out.
I'm just unveiling. It's all here in
Yeah,
front of us. We don't
yeah,
see the flowers, the tree for the forest with the trees. It's
yeah.
all here. I didn't invent. I'm not making this up. You can
Hmm.
relate to it. I can give you an
Yes,
example. This is all right here. All I do is unveil the power that art is for humans. I don't.
yes,
I don't invent things or come up. Say, oh, art is the greatest. You can have sex when you do art.
yeah,
That would be just a stupid statement.
yeah,
I'm I'm saying what I'm just unveiling art, and when you start with that, it's art gives you endless stuff. It says, oh, this happens too. Oh, now I understand, and you
yeah,
understand humanity. See, you
yes,
understand. It keeps you not only in the space of human beings, but
yeah,
it also pulls you into this in your human. You understand your own humanity. So
hmm,
everybody that isn't in art should still listen to this podcast because it's all about humans. It's
yeah,
all about, you can take that 20 seconds statement and question and just leave. It's not taking any time from you or anything. It's just, it is wonderful to be a human being. This is an experience we wanted to have,
yes,
and we created self-made. So humans are not created by us, and nature is not being created by, but we have systems that are created by us, and we
yes,
submit to a system, a brand, a company,
yes,
instead of it to be the reason why we created the system, to help us, to bring us, to make us safe, to make us peaceful. That's why
yes,
we create a tribe. Look what's
yes,
going on in the world now. We're killing each
yeah.
other.
We're
There's
killing each other.
$75,000 people killed in
Yeah,
4 months in Ukraine and Russia. It's
yeah.
insane.
It is a powerful. Could it be that because you were outside of the system all
Yeah.
the time, that
Hmm.
you got this revelation, being not you weren't ever under their programming, if you will, that
Hmm.
you were always on the outside, watching into their system,
Hmm.
making the observation. Could it be that that's where you got it? Because most of them
Absolutely.
are in the system. You know.
Absolutely. I had to survive somehow because you have that
Yeah.
spirit that wants to survive.
Hmm.
And I had to survive somehow without the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
And that
you're
system
absolutely
is
right. Yeah.
set up to control us. And I tell these are the systems we have: religion, we have educational system, the government, society as a whole. All of these other systems that are just pressing on you and I to tell us that we ought to be this way. And
Hmm.
if we step outside of that model, we are bad. They gave us all kinds of different labels. And when you grew up not being able to, they couldn't label you, and because they
Hmm.
couldn't label you, they couldn't plug you in. And
Hmm.
because they couldn't plug you in, that was a beautiful gift that you got in a way,
Hmm.
because you were able
Yeah.
to survive, in the sense, not even survive, you were able to thrive out from under them and be able
Hmm.
to, now you are in a position, I think you're in a blessed position to be able to now usher your fellow artists and others into a new paradigm, if you wish,
Hmm.
about being outside of the system and still achieving the things that they're looking to achieve within the system, and can't do it because they are burdened down. So, man, you're in a privileged position. Anyone that's listening to us, get into his space and listen to those 20 seconds, or the wisdom that you're laying out there, so they can change their life, man. This is
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you here, because I've never seen look at art from that point, from that perspective, if you will.
Yeah.
And it is
And you
really,
can't unlearn it.
um,
You can unlearn it. Now
yeah,
you know you can't unlearn it. Once you have
yes,
wisdom, you cannot unlearn it.
yeah,
And I wanted to say something to that. What you said is, on the other side of system, we need to always keep in mind that systems are not bad.
yeah,
Systems are good
no,
because we created systems to help us. But on the other side of the system is a pure mother that wants to pay their bills and whatever. So we
Yeah.
basically using creativity. Here is art again. We're using creativity to actually fight each other. So a
Yes.
new leader comes, he creates new taxes. There is
Hmm.
people that create tax laws that are accepted by us, and we, the outside of the system, try to navigate to pay the least taxes. So it's basically humans against humans, and our life force
Yes.
is spent into systems. That's where system is. We can never come to the being human beings
Yeah.
because we're spending system navigation, system maintenance, and system leading. We
Hmm.
all humans are wasting the energy. It's better to talk to each other. I think the podcast evolution tells
Yes.
this because people want to have a human conversation versus a system telling you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that because the second superpower is healthy discourse. I mean, that's
Yes.
absolutely with. I'm studying that too. I'm studying
Yeah.
what that we have a mastermind, that
Hmm.
our brains change when we interact with each other. And
Yes.
then when you resolve something, you resolve it for me.
Yes.
And so when somebody sees a drunk on the street in New York, imagine
Hmm.
how many people the drunk that is in the dirtiest gutter or whatever, how many effects by
Yeah.
his being,
Yeah.
but not in a bad way.
Hmm.
Because people say, "Oh, he's not in society, he's not good in the system." But
Yeah.
every human shows us something.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you
Absolutely.
a soldier that has no arms and he still has a spirit or
Yes.
whatever. It's just it. And that's what we need to think. The power is in the humans, not in the system.
Yeah.
The
The
system's not here
system,
to
like I
serve
said,
us. You know.
yes. And I think when we don't recognize that they're here to serve us, because it was man that created it,
Yeah.
that we can. I have a friend of mine who said, if we don't understand the purpose of a thing, the
Mhm.
thing will abuse the thing, and that's
Yeah.
what we're doing today.
Yeah.
If you just look around, as you said, and see what the world is doing, this is some really good stuff. So here you are, you're moving through. Talk to me. You started at a young age when you started putting your and creating the art space. When did someone, as say from the outside realm, looked into you and noticed you? Do you remember
Okay.
that time
Yes.
when that
Yes.
happened, and what painting was it that caused that connection, if you will?
Music. It was music. I
Okay.
did. I told you. I went to Healed Me was the soul music,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I made mixtapes
Mm-hmm.
in Vienna. I made mixtapes, and it was a great additional income for me. I just made a
Yeah. Yeah.
mixtape,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. I think I did 200, almost 300 mixtapes in my
Mm-hmm.
career,
Yeah.
and people and it worked. Otherwise I wouldn't have done it. so
Yeah.
so it worked. I liked it. For me,
Mm-hmm.
actually, at the beginning I made a mixtape because the big records,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was one song that you really liked, and
Yeah. That you
all the other
like.
songs
Uh
you couldn't use.
huh. Yeah.
uh, and so instead of always listening, and also don't wear out the record,
Mm-hmm.
because it was very precious to me. So what I did is I made mixtapes and made all the best songs. And then somebody heard it and said, "Hey, can you make me one?" Yeah. And then
Mm-hmm.
I sold it $10,
Yeah.
$5,
Yeah.
and that was also, I know it was perhaps not legal 100%, but I couldn't make any other
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
other than that. So
Entrepreneur spirit. That's what they say.
and and the people bought their records. Actually, the
Yes.
people said, "Who was that?" And I had a
Yeah.
little list on the side, and they said,
Mm-hmm.
and actually it wasn't really that bad because
Yeah.
they bought their records. They fell in
Yeah.
love with one song, and then,
Mm-hmm.
which they know now. When you hear
Yeah.
one song, you get engaged with that artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was always creative. If it was the music, then it was a DJ. Then I was a producer of fashion shows.
Mm-hmm.
It just one
One
very
after the other.
organically went into
Yeah.
another thing. But it was never easy. I never had enough money to, I had never enough money to spend on frivolous things. I wasn't drinking. I couldn't drink or do drugs because of
Yeah.
my condition.
Mm-hmm.
So I never splurged money my whole life, and because I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was never in the position to do that.
You are in a really, I'm so glad that you're out here because I would have loved to have a friend of mine to chat with you. I'm gonna put in contact, I'm gonna contact her and give her your information because I think when you're looking at art from the angle that you're looking at, the perspective by which you are seeing the artist and what the artist does, being in relations to the human experience, and bringing us together and so forth. I think it carries a higher respect level. I think it is, and even a deeper purpose. It's. I would seem that one would get from being an artist. You would have a deeper purpose or a deeper awakening as to your purpose. So here you are. You're producing all of these things, and I see that you have some great pieces, and I love your colors, how you utilize your colors. Talk to me as to when you are looking at a blank piece, how is the process of creation? Where do you hook into, and how do you do that? I know she used to start from her meditation and stuff like that. And what is your particular process by which you create?
Uh, I say, for example, I work with people on writer's block, right?
Yes.
And writer's block is something that you have never, and I use the same technique that other people use too. Before 1950 or something, there was no writer's block. 1950 something or six, there was no
Yeah.
mention. Goethe or anybody of the writers never wrote, about a writer's block.
Hmm.
But we are so distracted and we're so out of time, and that's another thing where art, you need to be in time, that the stuff comes in. And when you're out of time, when you're distraught or
Yeah.
stressed or thinking about things, you can't create.
Yes.
So that is just for you to know, when you try to do something and you can't do it, you're out of time space. When you in time space, and art is with breathing, I think the only thing that gets you really in time space quickly. You can do it through
Yeah.
meditation and other stuff too, but you have to know about meditation. There's people doing
Yeah.
40 years meditation. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I know how to get in time space. I don't have an
It's the
idea about
breath,
meditation.
Michael. It's the breath. It's
Yeah, the breath.
always been
No,
the
no,
breath.
there you go. That's why I say it's breath and art that bring you in the
Yeah.
moment, and I do both. So,
Yeah.
and I meditate too. But
Yeah.
uh, so how I do this? You asked me how do I hook in? So
Yeah.
I tell everybody of my students to think of an inspiration, a color. Think of your color right now. What is your favorite color right now? And it could be
Hmm.
blue. It could, often with me it's yellow, and I just make a dot on the thing. Or when
Hmm.
I have when I want to write something, and just out of flow, not out of anything. I said, what honeybee comes also yellow. It's interesting, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying it right now. So a
Yeah. Hmm.
honeybee comes into my mind. So I'm writing the word honeybee, or I'm painting the yellow. I don't
Hmm.
paint a bee. That doesn't come to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And now let's say I'm doing it live right now. So I see
Yeah. Yeah.
yellow, and I see
Hmm.
a light green, and I see a red,
Hmm.
and I see, I see black. I see, so words would be honeybee, meadow, barn,
Yeah.
horse.
Hmm.
And I'm writing this down, and then
Yeah.
I look over it. If I don't feel anything and I'm still disturbed or whatever, I just leave
Yeah.
it. I do this
Leave it.
5 minutes, a minute, 5 minutes. That's
Hmm.
all. I do one sentence of a book.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
write a book with, let's say, 500 pages. I'm writing one sentence and I'll be happy and go. And
Hmm.
then next time I come again, I come the same day or the next day, how I feel it. And I say,
Yeah.
I don't, stress is the worst thing that you can push yourself when you create.
Yes.
So you write these words, you paint those paintings, and tomorrow I come and nothing comes.
Yeah.
And you have to be in that, you have to follow what comes in, and you don't do anything. And you can't get stressed, because stress is a system symptom. You
Yeah.
can't, if you interact with the universe, matrix, God, whatever. There's no time. They're out of time and space. How can
Yeah.
you force them to, or your higher
Yeah.
self, to interact with you? You can't. You
Yeah.
can't force it.
Yeah.
And so then it develops, and you become. So first you're the master. I'm the master. I'm
Hmm.
writing B. I'm riding a
Yeah.
barn, I ride a horse, I'm painting
Yeah.
yellow, black, green.
Hmm.
All of a sudden something appears,
Hmm.
either a sentence. It can also be that the sentence of be whatever turns into triggering cars,
Yeah.
cars, traffic, whatever, a
Yeah. Yeah.
house.
Hmm.
So it has nothing to do with the end result from what I'm writing
Hmm.
about, but it's the way to. Everything is a way to, as you know, like life. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
sick. I got this. So it's a way.
Yes.
It's the journey. So be the
Yes.
observer of your journey. And how, I mean,
Yes.
I'm not spiritual or whatever, but I'm talking very spiritual. But
Yes.
it's all here. It's not some
Yes.
from a system, it is
Hmm.
here. And then all of a sudden you come and I mean, I feel the passion just when I talk about it,
Yeah.
because it's so holy. It's such a godly thing, and,
Yeah.
and you feel God when you say, "Oh, and this is how I do it,
Yeah.
and this is how I do it." So now you have a thing, and then it slowly it develops, and you like it. You're still the master,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
then comes a pivot point where the painting becomes the master, and it
Yeah.
tells you, "I need more pink, I need more bright red,
Yeah.
orange, I need
Yeah.
oh." The Gothic cathedral, to write about a Gothic cathedral, and I started with being a bee,
Yeah.
and it develops, and that is priceless. That there is no
Yeah.
price for this,
Yes.
and that's why you don't pay an electrician in the electrician fund. You don't pay $1 million and donate to it. That's why
Hmm.
a rich person donates, because he doesn't know why. Like, I think
Yeah.
humanity doesn't know why they like art. It's the physical. Even when I speak it, I just showed you
Yes.
the
Hmm.
physical manifestation of what it is, of
Yeah.
art, and when,
Yeah.
of our interaction, and
Yeah.
that product people recognize, but they don't know why. It's
Yeah.
unconscious. It's not.
Hmm.
That's why we have to bring it into conscious with this, and
Yeah.
with my podcast, and with my books. You bring it into the conscious, and then you can do the same. You know where to go, in what
Yeah.
direction your journey. And oh,
Hmm.
you recognize, because I say it's both. I double
Yeah.
your pleasure of art making,
Yeah.
and I double your pleasure of art looking at art. Without
Yes.
art history, and you need to learn anything, I make you aware of your inherent superpower
Hmm.
of seeing things. I am the
Yes.
person that brings you on a fountain, in the fountain, and the sunshine, and you have a little sun, and you go around the fountain till you find the rainbow. It was
Yes.
always there, but you have to just look at the perspective. It's all. So
Yeah.
what I do is nothing. Oh my God, I'm the greatest thing. No, I just have a knack to
Yes.
unveil things, to see how
Yeah.
they really work. And truth is harsh.
Yeah.
It is here.
Yeah, I think stress disconnects us from the spiritual realm because if you look at man, you'll see that stress disconnects us from our creative aspect
Hmm.
of who we are, and that is
Hmm.
why I believe this world is always a stressful manner because it keeps everybody. And if you I remember reading where Tesla and all of those men that were dealing with Einstein. I remember reading these guys when they were dealing with a specific formula. Einstein, in his case, when he was in a stress level, he would walk away from there and go and play games and interact in just playing and doing silly things. And he believed that when you get into that space and you're free and you're just relaxed totally and the mind is not in a state of stress, that clarity becomes, you reconnect again. Tesla did
Hmm.
the same. All of these men that had that understanding that when that stress came in, they would evacuate themselves from that project and move and do something else. And you're absolutely right. It's that when you have that stressfulness, it somehow cuts into your creative being and your mind for you to have access to it because you can't connect. There's no way you can connect. There's absolutely no way you can connect even when you're in a state of stress. But I know as far as the breath, like I always tell people, that breath is the bridge between the natural and the supernatural. You have to learn how to breathe, how to put yourself within that state by your breathing. And it's that easy. But I think people tend to spiritualize everything and doesn't, and they lose people on the way. But as you said, it is the breath, man.
Mhm.
And I am so excited that you're here, and that we are having this conversation. And as I've said before, those that are listening to us, I want you guys to get in touch with him, follow him, get into his artwork, grab his stuff, his blog, his podcast. I mean, you get everything that he has. Buy his books, get into his space so that you can get a chance to witness some beautiful stuff. Because as I'm talking to Mike, I'm having a great time, man. Seeing the connection of man and human spirits within the space is absolutely, you just opened my mind to something else that I need to just drink up for a little while. I appreciate it. Michael,
Mhm.
thank you for coming to Threads of Enlightenment. Sorry, we are 40, we are almost 50 minutes already in this thing, and I can go for another hour, but I know
Anytime again, Ken. Anytime
I'm
again.
going to
If
bring
you
you
want to
back.
talk, yeah, anytime.
We,
Do you know
we're
where
going to
I
bring
am?
you back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm going to get in touch
and
with you and bring you back because this is a necessary conversation for everyone to hear, not
yeah,
artists in the sense of just artists, but we all are artists. So
yeah,
because we all are artists, we need to hear this conversation, and to elaborate even more and deeper. And so I thank you, sir, for coming.
yeah. To understand our humanity and bring your friend, your artist
I
friend,
will. I'm going to get her,
And thank you so
put her
much.
in contact with
I
you.
really appreciate your creating such a great canvas so I can paint a little. It's great. I'm very excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to walk with you in your creative process because I saw it in you as you were describing it. And I want to thank you for that because that was precious. And I got a chance to see it and I was privy to it. And it's honor. I thank you so much.
And the people should watch this episode a couple of times because there's a lot
Yeah.
we talked really there's a lot of wisdom crammed in into this episode. Okay, and you
Yes.
find me
Thank
on
you so much.
michaelm.com,
I
michaelm.com,
will.
Michael with two L's, and it's probably in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have all that stuff put together for you so they can have all your
Awesome, man.
websites and everything. All right, sir. You have a good one.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye bye.